Want to burn your opponent 40-0 in no time flat? This will be your matchup guide for post-hunted meta. This video is broken down into 4 parts: race, AB check, high spell void, and full unga. Timestamps are below. When it comes to the race heroes, this category is just as it sounds. It's a race. You're looking to keep 2 card hands. If you have something to send back, like for any 1-for-4s, that'd be awesome. Granted, if there are not threatening many hits or raw damage, feel free to take some damage and try and Kano on their turn to send a little bit of extra damage on top. Don't be afraid to send some smaller combos to bait out any of the spell void they have and chunk them early. AB check. This group is a bit odd, as there's a lot of heroes in here that could go either into race or unga depending on the AB that they bring. So make a judgment call or pick the style you feel that fits most comfortable. My personal preference is to go tempo or / race into most of these heroes, but again, find out what do you think their arcane barrier is going to be. If it's more than 3 and they have to lose the back, I would go towards full unga. If they're on 1 or 2 and they don't have a lot of high resources, and stick with racing them. The high spell void is where your true skill as a Kano player gets the shine, or it'll get snuffed out. I find these matchups really interesting because you need to know how the opponent decks work almost as much you need to know how your own deck functions. I say that because you can find better opportunities or windows for damage or baiting out their equipment. And full unga, last but not least, these decks have easy access to AB3 and the blues to cover them up. They might not be killing you turn 3, but they will be sending ample damage. Take your time, preserve your life, and play out your potions. If you happen to get a free turn, try and punish them for setting up. So, kill range for race, I usually like 25 and below. That's where I aim for this. For arcane barrier check, we'll skip that. And you just put them in whatever category you think based on the arcane barrier. High spell void, I like 25 just due to the amount of spell void eating up most of my wildfire damage. 25 and 25. The reason I'm putting them at 25 is I might not have all the potions lined up to do a fully extended combo. So I'm looking at maybe 3-4 wide wildfire zap as an extender into blazing. So that's what I'm thinking. 4 or 5 cards wide, that's on average 25-ish damage. And same with high spell void, the lower the better, so that way they can't eat up a lot of chunk of your wildfire. Full unga, I respect it about 33, and depending on how many potions you have, you can bump that life up. Let's say if you have 2 epots and a deja vu, I'd say 33 is a decent range, depending on what you have left in your deck from blocking. So you can also pitch stack some of these people, so keep in that mind. 25, 25, 33, and find a spot for them. Some standout heroes for the race category we have are Mario, Slippy, Dash.io, and Syndra. The reason I pick these heroes is because these are the hardest for me. They have easy access to disruption or items or reactions that will just mess up your hands and make it difficult to block and or have a 2-card hand for the send back. Now let's go down individually for each of these. So keep in mind, this is my personal preference for these sideboard guides, and you could take it with a grain of salt. These are also for my deck list, which will be in the description or a pinned comment. So I like to take out the 2 clarity potions, 3 floodgates, and 1 of my 2 potions of deja vu. I'm only running 2. The reason I take out the second one is I don't want to see non-blocks against race. That's just my personal preference. And as well as for these, you can either have 2 1-for-4s if you prefer. I like these 2 cards as they put out ample damage. Overflow over the yellow floodgate as I'll get more damage through. It's not quite as good of an extender. I still have 6 of these and sonic booms to get ample cards through. So do keep in mind that your blue count will be down on my deck to 33 as opposed to 36 with these. What you're just trying to do is keep a 2-card hand, send whatever red spell you have, and hope to find a wildfire. Same goes for Dash.io. They have a lot of items that they can disrupt us, so hopefully they have some off turns and we can punch them there. I do not want to see any non-blocks against them. Granted, they don't have a lot of on hits other than Boom Grenade, which is kind of frustrating. It is still a who can find their damage first. And it is very frustrating when they have all their items, so we try and punch them quickly. Do keep in mind they do pump out more damage than I think than Syndra does, as Syndra just sends 0 for 4s. They send 1 for 5s, 2 for 7s, 3 for 10s. So they are on similar kill range, but it is very difficult. And then Mario, I like Waning Moon, as they, even though they might bring up to AB3, they might not have the resources available for it. So I prefer that, bring these in, the chip ones, so that way on a blue you can send 6 damage, you can send 5 damage. And again, I prefer not to have non-blocks against these aggro races. Some people will argue to say that you should keep these. Remember, in my opinion, these are whoever can get the most damage through fastest, and whoever can find their kill cards sooner. So I'm just trying to race them as fast as possible. So Mario and Slippy, I didn't put both their images together, but it is a similar stuff. They have a similar deck, similar Arcane Barrier, and similar availability to Arcane Barrier. You can keep Crucible if you prefer. There's been 1 to 2 times where I might have been able to kill with Crucible over Waning Moon. Out of my experience, I've had better success with the Waning Moon. Again, these are my opinions, subject to change. Now we'll go into Arcane Barrier check. I did briefly speak about this, so there's no real sideboard for them. It is at your discretion, but these are the standout heroes in my opinion now that Viserai is gone. I had Viserai in Arcane Barrier check because sometimes they disrespect me. When it comes to them, the Brutes, they have decent access to Arcane Barrier 2 and 3, so I like to put them. I like to keep my potions still, as they only send 1 to 2 attacks, so I have turns where I can keep my potions. When it comes to the ninjas, I have to feel them out because Ira and Zen both have access to Arcane Barrier 3, so you can put them on Unga as well. But if you're thinking that your Iras are going to be lower Arcane Barrier, you can try and tempo them out by cutting your potions and put in your 1 for 4s. That is an option. So just feel out the meta. You think people are respecting Arcane Barrier at the moment and bringing it, or do they even know that you're going to be playing Kano? My local area knows I play Kano and basically only plays Kano, so I assume they always have Arcane Barrier on them. So I treat most of these people with to have Arcane Barrier 2 or 2+, so I sideboard accordingly. I spell Void heroes are the ones that might not have high Arcane Barrier, some of them, but they are more likely to have ways that just prevent your damage going through via wards or spell void in regards to the shadow heroes, as they have easy access to spell void items. So keeping that in mind, I prefer to go into Waning Moon and chipping. Prism is a hard matchup for me, as they have easy way to make angels. They send 14+ damage a turn consistently, so they are going to be outputting more damage than you and being able to prevent you from dealing as much damage. For these ones, I just tend to block the 1 for 7s if they're running them with 1 card, so that I have more cards to block the other ones and or send damage back. A trap that some people might get into is trying to blow stuff up on their opponent's turn. Save your resources for your own turn to play your red cards and Waning Moon together. That is the best way to disrupt their wards and or strip cards from their hand / chip them. It only time that I recommend this is if they have a lot of angels up flipped and they have no more resources available, or they have like no Arcane Barrier in general and they have no cards to further play. That's where you might want to get a chip, blow up all that stuff, Kano once, and hope for the top card being something good in Waning Moon to remove all those angels in one fell sweep without losing out any tempo on your own turn. Otherwise, they just have 4 cards on their own turn that they'll send right at you. So I prefer Waning Moon. You could try and Crucible and combo them turn 1 and 2. For me, it always used to go to turn 5 at the bare minimum. And I've only killed 1 or 2, but I've had the most success with this. Same goes for Enigma. I forgot to put Swell Tiding in the Prism matchup, but that goes there as well. Keep in mind, if for Swell Tiding, you'll have to cut the red floodgates. So keep that in mind. If you want to keep Swell Tiding as well, you'll have to cut your further extenders. If you don't want to cut Floodgate, then you may be Sonic Boom, as it deals less damage than this, and you can keep your draw extenders. But same game plan. Try and play as much as on your own turn. Block as needed. Depending on the matchup, it's a little bit harder for Enigma since they have different deck lists. They could be a Pummel attack action variant. They could be a Spectral Prowler, go again, multiple attacks type of build. Again, trying to do as much as you can on your own turn to disrupt their hand and or board state. The only time I'd recommend it is that if they've had an off turn, they have 1 card in hand, and they have a lot of ward, and you have a decent amount of cards that you can pitch and possibly play on their turn and your turn to disrupt their board state, because this one is also an annoying matchup. I hate playing Illusionists, nothing against them, it's just their playstyle very much disrupts my playstyle. And then Vincent, I just like cutting Yellow Floodgate for Aether Quickening. You could do a multitude of different changes. It doesn't have to be Aether Quickening, it could be the 0 for 3, and you could do, from my experience, they tend to bring Arcane Barrier 2, Spell Void 2. I have seen upwards of Arcane Barrier 4, Spell Void 2, or the Tiara, so that all their rune chants have Spell Void, essentially. But this is a happy medium between guessing. If you're like, hey, I have no idea what to do, this is what I would bring. Keep your potions. They play slow enough. They're playing 1 to 2 attacks with minimal disruption that you can get your potions out. You can get all the extenders you need. Keep in mind, I did not put on here, you do want to swap at least 2 blues. Just swap out 2 of your zaps, bring in 2 scours. They don't always have a lot of rune chants to get rid of, but they do have a decent amount of auras that you can just blow up. And I've actually killed somebody when they had 4 rune chants and 3 of their auras that make rune chants on my combo turn. So Wildfire hit them, I blew up 3 rune chants, I dealt 6 damage with Scour, which was fantastic. So it's not actually not that bad in the deck or in the combo, depending on what they have on their board state. But it's an easy matchup. Do watch out for Cole. That's their new card. If anybody took damage, you can play it as an instant. Both players banish a card from hand. They might be trying to do that on your Ragamuffins. So if you can hold off your Ragamuffins and do that before you deal any damage, you don't have to worry about that disruption. Keep in mind, if you're doing it on their turn and they took a damage off their own hero ability, so you got to keep that in mind. Always look at their banish, make sure they're taking their blood debt. I had an opponent take 8 damage to keep a Cole in their blood debt zone, so watch out for it. Make sure they respect their own blood debt and chip them down. All right, Clarity Potion, Deja Vu, Floodgate, take it out. They are high spell void 99% of the time, maybe on AB2 max. So you just want to chip them down. It's not quite a race. They are going to send 2 attacks on average per turn, depending on what their graveyard is looking like for banish requirements for their cards. Their Blood Rush Bellow turns are disgusting. So if you find an opportunity where you're high on potions and they're low on cards with that Blood Rush Bellows, maybe think about sending it and hoping that it kills them. The kill range for high spell void, I leave it around similar to the race variant if I didn't go through that. But yeah, they're going to rely more heavily on their spell void than anybody else in these matchups, as they are low on they do have some blues, but they are lower on the blue count in general, as their cards are maybe going to be pitched for yellows and or some reds. They rely more on their spell void. Chip them down, get them to that 25, look for maybe on their Blood Rush Bellow turns when they have 1 or no cards, and send it thin. And then full Unga, I have no sideboard guide, as the baseline for my deck list is Unga. Just cut out the 1 for 4s and the 0 for 3 depending on how you change the list. But keep in mind, in regards for these two side heroes, they have some decent disruption. For him, he's got Oaken Old, Pummels, Mangle, plus their specialization essentially that can destroy your boots. Don't tell them that their boots is the best option, but when they put a minus counter on anything other than your boots, then you're rocking. If they kill your boots, you're going to have to pitch stack them to be able to kill them without your boot. That or keep your wildfire in your hand and kindle in the arsenal, as you will not be able to play anything out of your arsenal because your boots are gone. I conceded a couple match in Talishar, but if you're able to pitch stack them after they kill your boots, that is your best option. Or again, keep your wildfire in hand. Some of them are also running the ice chest piece where it says pay 1, and after it's activated, the Kano player or any player has to pay 1 additional per card / activation during the Jarl's turn. So keep in mind, they have a lot of blues. They will be consistently pitching to this. So depending on the arcane barrier, you might have to just, when they activate it, send it there. If they're on 3+, it will be unfortunate, but that is your window of opportunity to eat up their turn as well. Because after that, your Kano's 4 activations, your wildfire costs 3. So everything gets 1 more expensive. You could eat through it. It will reduce your damage. So you might want him a little bit lower if you want to fight through that chest piece, so that way they have less cards in hand. I highly recommend when they try and activate the chest piece, if they're low on arcane barrier, even better if they're high, you're going to have to fight through either the resource or the arcane barrier. Either way, it's going to be a little bit difficult. New is frustrating just due to the amount of disruption she has and easy access to arcane barrier 3, spell void 3 sometimes, and she has an attack reaction that says, hey, I take your potion and draw a card, sucks to be you. These matches are going to be a little bit slower. She will kill you faster than him depending on the hands, but just respect a little bit of her damage. Take it slow, block out as you need, and play your potions. Hopefully she doesn't have the attack reaction to eat it. If she does, just pitch it so that way you can find it later. And to the late game, you will have sub 20 cards in your deck against her when you pop off. So just keep that in mind. Not quite a pitch stack, but do keep in mind what you have left in your deck as you send off your combos. And other side from him being Earth, you should not lose to a single Earth hero. If you are, it will be Florian, just because they are doing a more aggro variant, which might catch you off guard with the felling of the tree and rune staff or whatever it is that deals arcane damage. So that arcane barrier 4, if you don't have that, they'll be making a couple of rune chants off that and sending some 0 for 3 go agains. Not as common, but they are trying to emulate the Viscerai they best they can in their Earth hero. Verdance, your best opportunity is just slow take it, wait till they try and do their combo or something, and then hit them there. Watch out for the Earth heroes. They have the Seeds of Tomorrow. It has to have an arsenal for them to activate Seeds of Tomorrow. Seeds of Tomorrow is a 0 cost instant. Cycle your arsenal, so put it at the bottom, prevent the next 5 damage that be dealt for you. So if you see them without an arsenal and you're like, okay, cool, I really want to do my combo here, that is the best time. Not everybody is on Seeds of Tomorrow, but it is something to look out for. That is the matchup guide. I will make another one after some high tournament after the next set, because I will not know what the heroes do in gameplay mechanics against us until a larger tournament occurs, so that we can see how the deck's solidified. As best opportunity for matchup guides is like a few weeks after the set releases. Thank you everybody for watching. Please check out my other videos, and shout out to my girlfriend for making this slideshow. Fantastic efforts. You guys have a great day.